The internet, smartphones, virtual reality, cameras, microphones, self-driving cars, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tinder. Chaos, chaos, chaos. Oh, what a brave new world. I'm so wasted.
I'm sponsored by God.
Written in 1932 by Aldous Huxley, Brave New World is a futuristic dystopian novel centered around a society known as the World State. People are not born, but are manufactured in test tubes on assembly lines, and raised by the government, which conditions and brainwashes them to value pleasure and happiness above meaning and truth. God does not exist in the society, or he does, but just people don't believe in him. Now, our Lord has been replaced by R. Ford, as in Henry Ford, who created, of course, the assembly line and really pushed mass production back in the early 1900s. And the reason Ford is deified in this society is because the creators of the world state used Ford's idea of an assembly line and mass manufacturing and imposed it on humanity so that they could manufacture humanity and society. Literally, this book is set in 632 AF. And no, AF does not stand for as f. Instead, though, AF stands for after Ford. Yes, you know, like BC and AD and everything. Yeah, Henry Ford replaced Jesus Christ as far as the timeline goes for humanity. Crazy. Other things to note about the society in Brave New World: it's a very individuality is frowned upon. There is no such thing as an individual in the society because everyone belongs to everyone else. Pavlov conditioning is a big part of this book. And the main conflict of this story in this society is around some people who kind of think a little differently than everyone in this society because they kind of realize that they are individuals and not just cogs in a giant machine of pleasure and distractions. And these characters are Bernard Marx, Helmholtz Watson, John the Savage, and Lynetta Crown is not necessarily one of them, but she is a big part of the story. And there, of course, there's the world controller of Eastern Europe in this book. I believe it's Eastern Europe. If it's Western Europe, then I'm sorry. I can't be perfect all the time, okay? And so that's kind of the setting, a little bit of the premise of this book, and I'm not really going to tell you much more about the actual story of this book, other than that, this is my favorite book of all time. I'm going to talk a lot about the themes of this novel in this review. I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but this book is, in my opinion, as far as novels go, it's the most intellectually stimulating novel I have ever read. There are so many ideas that are introduced in this book. There are so many parallels to our modern society that it freaks me the hell out. So let's talk about all the stuff that freaked me out and made me go, oh man. So one of the things that I love the most about Brave New World is it presents a version of the future that I think is very possible. Like very possible. And there's plenty of signs in our society today that lead me to believe that, okay? Now, there's a book that Brave New World is often compared to, which is 1984, which is by Orwell. I've talked about it. It's a great book. And in 1984, that book is about a totalitarian government that inflicts control through force. Whereas in the Brave New World government, and this is what I think is so interesting about Brave New World, is the Brave New World sort of government is a government that inflicts control through pleasure. Now, of course, the totalitarian government that's presented in 1984 is real, and that's certainly a possibility of where society could go. I mean, it already is a reality in North Korea, but I don't necessarily think that the government described in 1984 would necessarily come about in America. I think it would be more like the society in Brave New World, where the government, instead of forcing everybody to do all these different things that are, unpleasant or restricting, they encourage you to indulge in all of your vices. Sex is everywhere in this book. People have sex with everybody, okay? If you go on a date, you're going to have sex with that person. It's just the common thing in this book, in the society of Brave New World. People, when they get sad, when they begin to contemplate, like, what is my purpose here? What is the meaning of all this? There's a drug that they are raised from birth to, they're basically conditioned to take this drug whenever they feel unhappy. It's a drug called soma, and it distracts them from really trying to think about, what is the purpose in life? Is there a God? Is there not a God? Is there meaning? Is there not meaning? Is there purpose or anything? This drug, it just kind of makes you all blissful and whatnot, and you just kind of forget about it. And so this society, I think, is so similar to American society in that American society, everybody's just trying to fit in. Everybody's trying to distract themselves from really contemplating the stuff that actually matters. And you can see that through people's overindulgence in TV and video games and pornography and sex. Everybody's looking for something to fill their time so they don't have to think about, what really matters. Everybody's just trying to entertain themselves to death because it's scary to think about what's going to happen after this life. Is anything going to happen? Is something going to happen? It's difficult and it's hard and it sometimes can be depressing. And so everybody's trying to distract themselves in our society, and in Brave New World it's the same way. And back onto the sex thing, the casual sex kind of phenomena of right now, with Tinder and with just the feeling that everybody's just treating sex as if it's just some recreational activity that doesn't really mean anything. That is one of the most glaring predictions that Aldous Huxley made about society that has come true. I think it's very unfortunate that that's come true. I don't think sex is something to be taken lightly, and I don't think Huxley thought that it was something to be taken lightly either, and that's why he wrote about it. But he saw that was the way things were going to go, and that is the way that things have gone. People treat each other like meat. That's a big part of this book. Bernard Marx, who's one of the main characters in the book, towards the beginning of the novel, he really likes this woman, Lenina Crown, and he can't stand the fact that all these men around him are talking about her as if she's a piece of meat, and what horrifies him the most is that she knows, or is that she believes that she is just that, a piece of meat. There is no meaning or passion to the sex in Brave New World, and there is no meaning or passion to the sex that you find on Tinder. And I think it's very unhealthy. And you can see in the society that everybody deep in their mind feels, and Lenina Crown, you can see that in this book, she kind of wants just one person, but she kind of goes along with society because that's what she's supposed to do. But there's an urge in her that she wants to stay with one person, but she knows that she can't do that, and so she doesn't. But it's just amazing the amount of accuracy that Huxley had on this particular issue. And whenever Lenina feels used up and sad about just kind of being a piece of meat, she just takes soma. Another big theme in this book is the concept of the individual being abolished. The central question that the book asks is happiness and comfort reason enough to strip humans of their individuality and humanity? Like, for instance, when you're an individual and you think of yourself as a person who can think for oneself and make your own decisions about your life and what you believe in, then it kind of isolates you in a way. In this book, in this society, the idea of an individual is basically, it's completely discouraged. People from birth are repeated over and over, even in their sleep, that everyone belongs to everyone else, and it would be a shame if you wasn't that way. Basically, the idea of being an individual is completely discouraged, and they're conditioned to believe this. And I think that's a very similar sort of theme to today's society, in that there's this whole social justice warrior mentality where everyone's like, nobody wants to be an individual anymore. They just want to belong to a certain group and fight for certain things that don't even necessarily apply to them. They just want to be part of a group and march, Another thing that's fascinating about this book is the class structure. Now, in this society, the caste system, like in India, is reinstated on a mass scale. And people are conditioned to like the things and behaviors of their social class or caste, and are almost predisposed to meet the expectations of that class or caste. If they veer off track, they are discouraged. They're shellacked, basically. Like, if you're an alpha, which is the top caste, the most intelligent class, the tallest class, and say you want to do something that a beta does or a epsilon does, then people are going to be like, hey, we should send you to an island. And really and truly, one of the most incredible things about this book is that Huxley foresaw the dark side of genetic engineering in 1932, okay? He envisioned a world where humans were manufactured in test tubes, where you are predisposed, you're literally made to only be useful for one particular social class or caste in society. That's why the alphas are extremely intelligent. They're the thinkers. The betas are also pretty intelligent, but they're more like just like the regular middle class kind of people. And they can't get up to alpha status. And the epsilons are way lower than the betas and the alphas. I mean, it's just freaky how he saw that there's always a need for people to be better than another class of people. People are always going to want that. And what the Society in Brave New World saw is, well, since people are always going to have that inherent want to be better, then why don't we just make them all where they are better than someone, but they will never be better than the next one. It's just incredible. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm just blurting out everything, I think. Like in the Society of Brave New World, it's very hard for you to rise above your circumstances. If you're poor and unintelligent, you're always going to be poor and unintelligent. If you're smart and intelligent, you're always going to be smart, successful, and intelligent. Luckily, we live in a society where you can actually rise above your circumstances, but if we're not careful, then we may evolve into a Brave New World society where that freedom to move out of lower classes to upper classes, from upper classes to lower classes, we may lose that freedom if we're not careful. Another very interesting thing about this book is, well, in 1984, Orwell feared that the government would ban books. In Brave New World, I think this is more accurate to today's society. In the Brave New World Society, there would be no reason to ban a book because no one would want to read one. People do not like to read much anymore. I think that's horrible. I think that makes us uninformed. I think it makes us easily manipulable. And that's very apparent in this book. And what Aldous Huxley foresaw is a government that just conditions you to not want to read. There's a part in this book towards the beginning where there are these babies who, the opening couple pages of this book is basically the director of hatcheries, who's in charge of making all the babies and humans and whatnot. He's taking this class of students through their assembly lines and through their manufacturing halls, and he's showing them how they condition people to believe certain things, and to he's showing these students how to manufacture morality and manufacture thought and conditioning and that sort of thing. And there's this really sick, scary experiment. It's not an experiment because, it worked. So it's just kind of a procedure now, where they have these babies that are in this big room, this beautiful, bright room with sunlight coming in everywhere. And these babies are crawling towards these flowers and these books with all these pretty pictures on them. And they're just really excited. They're drawn to the books and to nature. And whenever they actually reach out for the books, they get electrocuted, and I believe that whenever they reach for the flowers, they are assaulted with a super loud sound that makes them all cry. And the kind of moral of that procedure is the government wants to discourage reading books because books open up your mind to new knowledge and they make you think, and that's not really something that a government based on stability and happiness is going to want. And so they're going to discourage reading deep books that encourage deep thought. And with the nature thing is they don't want people to be obsessed with nature because they will abandon society, and they will, because nature's so beautiful and profound and so revealing, they don't want people to discover those profound meanings in nature. And they want people to do their jobs and stay, and do their work. And it's just genius. It's freaky, and it's something that could happen. If we're not careful, we cede too much power to a government. They will start making us instead of governing us. It's a little conspiratorial, but hey, I mean this. I don't know. I don't think it's as far as fetched as it sounds. Another thing to understand about this utopian, dystopian society is that families, mothers, fathers, pregnancy, birth, monogamy, sexual conservatism, old age, pain, suffering, culture, passion, love do not exist. None of those things exist at all in this society because they've been abolished, because passion, thinking, love, all that sort of stuff, it creates instability. And this society is built on being stable, and the way they make everything stable is by distracting everybody from anything that means anything. I already said that, but yeah. I know in this review I haven't necessarily I have reviewed the book, but it's more like just me blurting about all the stuff I love in this book, because there's just so many themes, and I'm not even telling you all of them. I'm just amazed by this book. These are some of the themes I've talked about in this book, the messages, the deeper meanings. They just fascinate me. This is my favorite book of all time. I mean, it really is. I mean, the idea that what Huxley feared is that science and technology, if uncontrolled, could abolish the idea of an individual. I mean, if you look at social media, everybody wants to look like everybody else. Every single sorority girl's Instagram is going, here's me with this person, here's me with this person, here's me with this person, and here's me with this person. I have friends, guys. I have friends! That's all it is. By the way, my brother was the guy who came up with that. Here's me with this person. It's just so deep, this book. It's so deep. It's incredible. The idea that Pavlov conditioning could be taken to such a large scale and work is mesmerizing, and I think that it would work. Another thing you have to understand about this book is I haven't even talked about much of the characters, but the character of John the Savage, which I'm not going to tell you how you actually meet him, but he's kind of one of us. He's kind of like a regular guy. He's got some weird ideas because he came from this one old kind of world to this brave new world, and he's freaked out. But he's kind of one of us in this book, and you can identify with him. And what Huxley does with that character is genius. I will say that this book, if you want to actually talk about the book rather than just me blurting about all the stuff Huxley was trying to say, as far as the actual story in this book, I think it's a genius story. The way it is all played out, the writing structure is awesome. The prose is very unique. Sometimes Huxley will straight up just tell you what the characters don't know what they're. He'll just the way he narrates things is just awesome. And the ending of this book is extremely crazy and quite possibly depressing. I have a certain theory about what it really means. I know some people think that John the Savage partakes in a certain ritual sort of sexual thing. I don't think that's what happened at the end of the book. I think he and all the other people didn't necessarily do what is implied. I think what they did was something else, and I think they started to do something that will eventually lead to the demise of the Brave New World, which is, I certainly hope that that's what Huxley meant by the ending of this book, because if he meant the other thing, that's not quite as cool. But suffice to say, the ending of this book is awesome. The beginning of this book is awesome. The middle of this book is awesome. This book will blow your mind in so many ways. I basically just vomited all of my feelings about this book. It's probably one of the most unstructured reviews I've ever made. But I love this book. I love this book so much. It is an A++++. Obviously, I would say that you should read it. I'm shocked that it is not taught in high school. I'm shocked that 1984 is taught, but not Brave New World. They kind of go hand in hand. In fact, at the end of this book, there's a letter from Aldous Huxley writing to George Orwell, and George Orwell had sent Huxley a copy of his book 1984, and he wanted to hear what Huxley thought of it. And Huxley wrote to George Orwell, he said, "I believe that the society that you presented in 1984 will eventually lead to the society that I presented in Brave New World." And I could not agree more. Guys, I could go on and on about this book for hours, and I probably will sometime. Maybe if I start a podcast someday, I'll just have like a whole podcast where I'll talk about Brave New World to somebody who has also read Brave New World. Because this book it's a mind blower. It is incredible. It is extremely telling and extremely just spot on about Western civilization in a lot of ways. To me, great sci-fi fiction, futuristic fiction, isn't really talking about the future. What it's really talking about is today, and I thought Brave New World did that better than any other book I have ever read. It's unbelievable. You should read I love these sort of dystopian novels like Fahrenheit 451, Brave New World, 1984, The Giver. You should read all of them. I think they're very important books to read, like extremely important, especially now considering that everything is going freaking bananas in our society. But anyways, Brave New World is going to get a score that I very rarely ever give out to anything. Because it's on another level compared to the other books and stories and just stuff that I've read or consumed, okay? Because Brave New World is a gift from heaven. But anyways, guys, have you read Brave New World? If so, please comment below and tell me what you thought of it. Like, I really want to know what you think of Brave New World. Am I overreacting to how great it is? Am I underreacting? Just let me know. And let me, if you really want to talk about the ending, you can give your theory in the comment section. Just fair warning to anybody who has not read the book, probably shouldn't check the comments since I just said that we might talk about the ending. But anyways, whatever you think about Brave New World, please put it in the comment section below. As I already said, please. And as always, if you like this video, please like it and subscribe. Tell your friends about the channel. And never forget to